fight like a roaring fight, crypto and dreams under stadium lights, sweat and fire, hearts ignite. Even sparks will fade, we'll let the Ginch replay. Highlights while scores collide, it's the riot life.
It's Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It is hot as balls. Tremendously hot. It's staying cool. Coming to another edition of Early Evening Sports Buffet with Ginch. I'm Ginch. Ryan F. here on the Colt County Entertainment Network. Coming up at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hopefully. I missed him the last time. Mr. J. BILAS, ESPN college basketball analyst, lawyer. So he is a college basketball analyst extraordinaire. He'll be on talk the state of college basketball. Thanks to the Ginch Quartet there. Thanks to the Ginch Quartet there. Let's just jump into it, shall we? As I adjust my screen to fit my big fat head in the shop. The NBA conference championships are set. Detroit laid an egg last night, by the way. At home yet. Just terrible. They got blown out. It's Cleveland and the Knicks in the Eastern Conference title game or series. That will kick off tomorrow, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Cavs at Knicks. Knicks favorite by 7.5. I don't know why. I have a feeling the Cavaliers will win this series in 7. A lot of people will be on the Knicks. Cavaliers just have something going. We'll see. And then tonight, 8:30 p.m., NBC and Peacock. Spurs are at the Thunder. Oklahoma City's favorite by 6.5. The Spurs won the series in the regular season. Before the playoffs started, I picked the Spurs. I'm not going to back off that now, even though a lot of people will be on OKC. I think the Spurs win in 7, which would set up a Spurs-Cavs final, in my opinion. That should happen. Then we jump to the NHL. 7:30 tonight, the puck drops. Game 7 of the semis. You have the Canadiens at the Sabres. Sabres blew out the Canadiens the other night. Hammered them. I think the Sabres are going to win this. A lot of people are on the Canadiens. Call me an idiot. I don't know. I always like to see the little guy pull it out. I'm going to take the Sabres to win this game, like 3-2. Then on Wednesday, the Western Conference Finals will pit the Golden Knights against the Avalanche. I think the Avalanche win this in 6. I said before the playoffs started, it was going to be the Avalanche and the Hurricanes. I'm not backing off that now. Then on Thursday, the winner of tonight's game will play the Hurricanes, who have literally been off for like the last 2 weeks. Some people think that it's good to get that kind of rest. Others don't. Others think that too much of a layoff will hurt. I don't care if it's the Sabres or the Canadiens. Are the Hurricanes going to sweep the series again? No. But the winner of tonight's game, whoever the Hurricanes play, Sabres and the Canadiens, I think the Hurricanes will, not going to say it's going to be easy, but I think the Hurricanes will dominate. Go to Major League Baseball show. Oh, by the way, NBA. SGA won his second consecutive MVP. If you look at the major statistical categories in the NBA this year, he didn't lead one of them. So you tell me. I personally thought Jokic should have won it, but I don't vote. Go to Major League Baseball, the standings, as I do each and every week. In the American League, the Rays have now pulled a 3-game gap on the Yankees. The Yankees 3-7 in their last 10. So the Rays up on top by 3 games. Blue Jays are third, they're 9.5 back. Orioles are fourth, they're 10 back, and the Red Sox in last. 11.5 back. In the American League Central, tight. Cleveland Guardians lead over the White Sox. Guardians lead the White Sox by a game. Twins are third, they're 4.5 back, and the Detroit Tigers and the Royals tied for last. They are both 5.5 back. Some comments here. Dylan Spalding says, the Ginch. Always good to hear from Dylan. Auto racing. He likes auto racing. Let me put it that way. Likes auto racing a lot. I can say that. Hope his season's going well. In the West, the Athletics lead over the Rangers by a game. The Mariners 2 games back in third. The Houston Astros in fourth, 5 games back. And the Los Angeles Angels last 7.5 back. Out there in the National League, the Atlanta Braves, ladies and gentlemen, in the East are just running away with it. Although the Phillies have caught fire. 14-4 in their last 18 games, I believe. But the Braves have an 8-game lead on the Phils, 9-game lead on the Nationals, an 11-game lead on the Marlins, and on the Mets, 11.5-game lead. In the Central, probably the best division in baseball right now, National League Central. Cubs lead the Brewers and the Cardinals by a game and a half, and the Pirates and the Reds are both 5 back. Out there in the West, the Dodgers on top of the Padres by a game and a half. The Diamondbacks, third and 6 games back. The Giants are fourth, 9 games back, and the Rockies, they're the Rockies. They're 11 games back. Again, hopefully coming up at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Jay BILAS from ESPN college basketball analyst extraordinaire, also a lawyer. I'll pick his brain about the state of college basketball, state of college athletics, period. More so the state of college basketball. Major League Baseball tonight, decent slate. Right now, there's a delay out there in Detroit, the Guardians and the Tigers. Coming up later, the Braves are at the Marlins, the Orioles are at the Rays, the Reds are at the Phils. Mets at the Nationals, the Blue Jays at the Yankees, the Red Sox at the Royals, the Astros at the Twins, Brewers at the Cubs, the Rangers at the Rockies, Athletics at the Angels, the White Sox at the Mariners, Dodgers at the Padres, and the Giants at the Diamondbacks. Some news and notes from around the world in sports today. Aaron Rodgers has showed up for OTAs. 2 days ago, just remember, he signed a 1-year contract that worth up to $25 million. I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. Peyton Wilson said he was shocked. Said, I was walking in and he was coming out and it was good to see him. I was a little shocked. Definitely. Kicker Chris Boswell said for him to come back early right now and be around the guys, obviously one of his previous coaches, I mean, it's only positives. I still don't think that this will be a marriage made in heaven between him and his head coach. I just don't. I think there's going to be problems. Aaron's a diva. His head coach kind of isn't. So the quarterback number 2 position will be competition between Will Howard, Drew Allar, and Mason Rudolph. I think one of the reasons why Aaron came back is because not only will he have DK Metcalf referred to, he'll also have Michael Pittman Jr., Roman Wilson, and Pat Freiermuth. Run game still is a little bit something to be desired. Do I think the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl? No. Do I think they're going to win their division? No. But the jury is still out. And again, when it comes to Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, it's not going to go as smoothly as everybody thinks. Man City, quarterback Rob Dawson and Mark Ogden, ESPN. Manchester City is expecting Pep Guardiola to hang it up with Man City after this season. Been there 10 years. What have they won? 5 Premier Leagues? He's under contract till 2027, but a lot of people think that Pep is going to step aside. Arsenal won today. They beat Burnley 1-0. A little bit of a squeaker. Arsenal still on track to win the Premier League title. Man City plays Aston Villa this coming weekend. They play tomorrow, too. Can't remember who they play tomorrow. But if Man City wins tomorrow, and then both Arsenal and Man City win on Sunday this coming week, Arsenal will win the title. We'll have to keep an eye on that. In the world of college football, remember Texas Tech Brendan Sorsby? He had entered treatment for gambling, betting. He has filed an injunction against the NCAA and is seeking eligibility. Reported by Pete Thamel, Espen. The filing made in district court in Lubbock County, Texas, cites the NCAA's deeply hypocritical position on gambling and a wholesale abandonment of its obligations and duties to promote the well-being of Sorsby. The NCAA prohibits student athletes from betting on any NCAA sanctioned sport, professional or collegiate. Penalties can include permanent ineligibility, especially in cases in which athletes wagered on their own team or manipulated their performance. Just going to read this verbatim. Sorsby, who has prominent attorneys Jeffrey Kessler and Scott Thompson as part of his legal team, of course, I'm sure he can afford it with his NIL. He's currently ineligible to play for Texas Tech due to prior violations of the NCAA sports and gambling rules, and says he will be irreparably harmed if the injunction isn't granted. Let me get this straight. You do what you did, but you're going to say you're going to be irreparably harmed if the injunction isn't granted. The NCAA issued a statement today saying it had not received a reinstatement request for this case. They said the association's sports betting rules are clear as are the reinstatement conditions. When it comes to betting on one's own team, which he did, these rules must be enforced in every case for the simple reason that the integrity of the game is at risk. Well, that's laughable. Integrity of the game throughout the history of the game has always been compromised. Every sports league has these protections in place, and the NCAA will continue to apply them equally because every student athlete competing deserves to know they're playing a fair game. That's laughable too. Could have worded it a little bit differently. Texas Tech issued a statement later Monday declaring Sorsby ineligible for competition after finalizing an agreed upon stipulation of facts between the university, the NCAA, and Sorsby. The university also said it intends to quickly initiate the reinstatement process while the primary focus remains supporting Sorsby's health and well-being. The filing by Sorsby's legal team says the quarterback suffers from a clinically diagnosed gambling disorder, which is a mental health condition. If you do the crime, you must pay the price. As far as I'm concerned, I'm all about second chances. I get it when it comes to certain things. But if the rules are there, the rules are there. And if the rules state what they state. And here's the other thing. How do you know he won't do it again this season? You don't know. You don't know. The New Orleans Pelicans, they've hired Jamal Mosley as their new head coach. Remember, he was fired by the Magic after the Magic had a 3-1 lead on the Pistons, and then the Pistons came back. Doesn't say what the term was, the deal is, the XYZ. But he's your new head coach for the Pelicans. I'm not so sure it's going to make a difference. That's to be determined. Thanks to everybody that tunes in. Thanks for Dylan for tuning in earlier. From NFL News, reported by Michael DeRocco Espin, Urban Meyer has lost his grievance over his firing, saving the Jaguars $30 million. Just going to read this here. An independent arbiter ruled the Jaguars were able to fire Meyer with cause and would not have to pay him more than $30 million for the final 4 years of his contract, which he would have been due had the arbiter ruled the Jaguars fired Meyer without cause. And it's been 4.5 years already. Remember, he had some off-field incidents. Kicker Josh Lambo alleged that Meyer kicked him in the leg. Urban has some issues. Period. From the world of global football, Neymar has been named to Brazil's World Cup squad despite doubts on fitness. Brazil coach Carlo Ancelotti said he has improved his fitness. He will be an important player in this World Cup. We will have to keep an eye on that. The World Cup kicks off, I think, in 2 weeks, a month. Again, for the world of college athletics, I call it semi-pro athletics because that's what it is. The Pac-12 and the Mountain West have paused their lawsuit. They work toward a settlement, reported by Kyle Bonaguro, ESPN. It's come out today, just about an hour ago. In a joint statement, the conferences, along with Boise State, Utah State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State, said the parties had agreed to formally pause the lawsuits filed in California and Colorado while they worked to negotiate and finalize a settlement. If you remember back in 2024, September, the Pac-12 filed a lawsuit in federal court challenging the legality of poaching penalties included in a football scheduling agreement it signed with the Mountain West in December of 2023. As part of the agreement, the Mountain West included language that called for the Pac-12 to pay a fee of 10 mil if one of its schools left for the Pac-12 with escalators of 500 grand for each additional school. The total penalty for the 5 schools that jumped to the Pac-12 totaled $55 million. Just going to read this verbatim. Colorado State and Utah State later filed a separate lawsuit against the Mountain West Conference, seeking to avoid having to pay exit fees that could range from $19 million to $38 million, with Boise State later joining the lawsuit. Remember this year, the new look Pac-12 will look like this. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Texas State, Utah State will join Oregon State and Washington State. Mountain West will look like this now. Air Force, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, Northern Illinois, North Dakota State, San Jose State, UNLV, UTEP, and Wyoming. Like I said, Arsenal beat Burnley today in the Premier League, so let's go to the updated standings. So with the win today, right now, Arsenal has a 5-point lead on Man City. Man City is alone in third. That's where they will finish. Possibly, depending on what Villa does. Villa is fourth. Liverpool's fifth. Bournemouth, I don't believe they cannot jump up into the top 4. Burnley and Wolverhampton have already been relegated. Tottenham and West Ham are battling out for relegation. Now, who's going to stay up on top? Now, if Man City were to win out and Arsenal would tie their last game, then Man City would win on goal differential. Tomorrow, Bournemouth will host Man City. Bournemouth is kind of on a streak right now. It's not going to be easy for Man City, just like it was not easy for Arsenal today. And then Chelsea plays Tottenham tomorrow. Crucial game for Tottenham. You at least want to try and get a point, if not 3. That's not going to be easy. Again, I never thought I'd see the day where Tottenham would flirt with relegation. And let's say Tottenham would either lose or draw. So Burnley's already lost. So let's just say Tottenham loses and they're still, I believe, 2 points ahead of Burnley. Tottenham would host Everton. Not easy. And then Burnley would host Wolverhampton. So depending on what Tottenham does tomorrow, let's just say Tottenham loses and they stay 2 points above relegation. Advantage Burnley. Because Tottenham would host Everton and Burnley would host Wolverhampton. And of course, again, I would give the advantage to Burnley. It's 6:25 p.m. here on the East Coast. I see he's popped into the green room. That's Mr. Jay Billis. Before I bring him on, though, I've got to Duke's alma mater song. But I do see him in the green room. Let me bring him on. This would be Mr. Jay Billis. Jay, thanks for joining, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. I'm just going to read this off the Twitter machine. It would be at Jay Billis, ESPN talent. All opinions expressed here are his, and they should be adopted by you immediately. No tipping, please. Jay, again, thanks for joining. My first question to you is, I saw your comments about the expansion of March Madness, the expansion to whatever it is now, 76 teams, 78 teams. It's not going to make that big of a difference because you, like myself, don't consider the start of the tournament until Thursday. That kicks off the tournament. Why? What is the NCAA thinking here? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Is it just another money grab? I make it make sense to me.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a money grab, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I mean, I do things for money. I mean, you give a speech for money or make an appearance for money. There are things you do for money, so I don't have a problem with that. But also, you want to give them some credit. I mean, I think their hearts are in the right place. I think there are people who do want to give, more players and more teams, the thrill of playing in the tournament. I think that sort of goes against competition. Like, I don't think you would hear anyone involved in education say, "Hey, we want to give more students the thrill of making the dean's list. Therefore, we're going to lower the requirements for making the dean's list or making Phi Beta Kappa or magna cum laude to be students because we want them to have that thrill." That's stupid. And but look, we went to 68 teams because of conference realignment, and one conference was getting shut out. I don't even remember what it was. So they went to 68. And, we messed around with calling the play-in game something different. I can't remember. They even at one point called it the first round, which meant like 60 teams got a bye. Like, come on, what are we doing? The NBA calls it the play-in. Why can't college do it? So, we're just adding 4 more games on that Tuesday, Wednesday. But, and I didn't, Ryan, say this to be disrespectful. I mean, but I think most fans look at it the way you and I are talking about it, that the tournament doesn't start until the first Thursday when we have first round games. You can call it opening round. You could call it the feel good round. You can call it the magna cum laude round. You call it whatever you want, but that's not the tournament. The tournament starts on the first Thursday, and that's the way all the bracket challenges work and all that stuff. So they could add as many teams as they want. It's not going to affect it until we, as long as they don't mess with a 64 team bracket, I think we're fine.
Let me ask you this, because I know the Football Coaches Association this last week proposed changes where they want to eliminate conference championship games. Would you ever see that in college basketball? Because as far as I go, Jay, like with college football, I think we should eliminate the AP, eliminate the coaches poll. If the magazines and the publications want to come out with their rankings, great. Just let the season play out, and then let the committee pick whoever they think is the best team. Would you be in favor of dropping conference championship games?
In football?
No, in basketball. Like if they if football did it, would basketball do it?
No, and I haven't really given it a lot of thought, football versus basketball. But what I would say is, in football, the reason they're looking to maybe diminish or get rid of conference championship games in football is because that could limit a team's ability to get into the playoff. In basketball, it increases a lot of teams' chances to make the NCAA tournament. And, one of the things that I've always kind of pushed back on people who take a populist notion of college basketball and they say, well, it's unfair, the big shots, all this stuff, this is as fair as it gets. Like every team has the same opportunity to make the tournament. Win your automatic bid against your peers in a league that you decided you wanted to be in. And if you can't do that, then you go into the pool with everybody else and they take the best teams out first. And if you can't make a case in the deep end of the pool to get out, then tough. You're probably just not good enough. Now, if they're arguing over, hey, look, Miami of Ohio is better than Stanford, okay, this year, because in a 76 team field, Stanford would have gotten in this year. So if we want to argue about that, that's fine, because those are more granular. But as far as overall fairness, it doesn't get any fairer than the NCAA tournament. And, football is an interesting test case over kind of the BS effect of what administrators say, because for decades they told us can't have a playoff, can't do it. We can't do it. We're smart enough to pick the two best teams, and the two best teams are going to play. Then they went to 4. It said can't go beyond 4, can't do it, can't do it. And then somebody put $1 billion in front of them, and we got more. And so we're going to keep adding more. But, it kind of makes you laugh that when they say, oh, we go from 12 to 16 or 12 to 24, that's going to devalue the regular season. It's like, no, it's not. It actually provides more interest. Baseball said the same crap when they went to the wild card. Remember, it's like traditionalists said, this is going to devalue they had a 162 game regular season. They were worried about it being devalued. It puts more teams in it. And so more fan bases are interested. More games matter. And I know my football colleagues hated it when I said this. But years ago, I can't remember whether it was 2 or 4, the two, they had the BCS championship game or whatever.
Yep.
But they would say, well, in football, every game counts. And my response was, the truth is hardly any of the football games count, because you're kind of out of it if you've lost more than one game. So all these teams are playing with zero chance, unless they're playing a team that's still alive. Their game doesn't count for anything. And none of the bowl games counted for anything. They were just exhibition games. It's like arguing that the NIT counts or some of the other postseason tournaments count. They don't count. They're just exhibitions. And it's great. It's good competition. I'm not trying to to bag on anybody, but like let's get serious. It's not like if the Lakers went out and played the Timberwolves tomorrow, while the conference finals are going on, anybody would think it counted. It doesn't count.
You got a law degree. You're a lot smarter than I am when it comes to stuff like this. If you were in charge of college athletics as it stands now, did they not come up with different scenarios? Did they not think about certain scenarios that would come up with the NIL, the transfer portal? You guys, college getting busted for gambling. They're signing these lucrative NIL deals. If you were in charge of college athletics right now, what rules would you institute? How would you retool it? Because at this point, for me as a fan sitting back, I'm like, this stuff's getting out of control. Did they not think about these scenarios? What say you when it comes to the state of college athletics in general right now? What would you do?
Well, first of all, let's move back. Did they not think about this? And there were people within the structure who did, whether they were athletic directors or university officials at different member institutions. They thought about it. And there were people who were kind of like me saying, hey, look, we better start paying these guys and come up with a structure for it, because this is coming whether we like it or not. And they saw that you're going to start losing court cases. But the people who were running the NCAA office, the NCAA president, general counsel, all that stuff, the people who are in the upper echelons running it, they felt like they were going to keep winning forever, and that the courts were always going to provide them with deference. And I think they miscalculated. That's pretty clear. But I thought they were miscalculating at the time. The idea that, if this were 1985 and coaches were making hundreds of thousands of dollars instead of 10 million, and the conferences were making, millions instead of billions, then maybe they could get away with that. But you can't do it now. And so some schools were ahead of it by budgeting a little bit smarter, knowing that they were going to lose the House case in federal court, and they ultimately settled it, and they had to pay $2.8 billion in damages, and then allow for revenue sharing and NIL and the like. But to the second part of your question, what would I do if I, could wave a magic wand or I was king, which I'm still holding hope for that someday I will be. What I would do is I would take all restrictions off of payment of athletes, and I would tell the schools, hey, look, we're not telling you whether you can build a hospital or not. We're not telling you what curriculum that you need at your school. We're not telling you how much to pay your coaches. We're not going to tell you how much to pay your players. Do whatever you want. And if you want to sign them to multi-year contracts, make them employees, go ahead. But I would also, as you probably know, right now, the NCAA is lobbying Congress for an antitrust exemption. Now, whether it's through the SCORE Act or other legislation they're trying to get, what they're really trying to do is ask Congress, say, give us an antitrust exemption so we can put restrictions on athlete pay and nobody else. I think it's a pretty lame argument on their part, but who knows? They may win, and they may get that. But what I would ask for is something a little more discreet. So what I would be asking Congress to do is give us a federal pathway to collective bargaining that cuts us a path where we don't have to worry about public versus private institutions. State laws that would get in the way would be preempted. And you can give a vehicle to the players where they can bargain collectively with the NCAA, and they could agree to maybe a salary cap or work conditions or things like that. That would be number one. The second thing I would ask Congress to contemplate is just exempt athletes, college athletes, from the Fair Labor Standards Act and the National Labor Relations Act, which I believe would allow schools to sign players to multi-year contracts without being employees, because that's what the NCAA somehow is afraid of. Like, I went to school at Duke. You played the alma mater. Duke has like 30,000 employees. Do you think they would flip and couldn't handle 500 more? Of course they could. They could handle it. It's not that big of a deal, but nobody wants to do it. That's sort of the bridge too far, their latest bridge too far. But if Congress would allow that, would kind of give them a pathway for independent contractor agreements. Like, I don't think it's fair to tell any student, you chose to be here, therefore you have to stay here for the duration. They should be allowed to transfer if they want to, in my view. So if you want them to stay, one, treat them better and they'll stay. But number two, if you want them to stay, sign them to a contract where they agree to be bound to that school. Like, that, agreeing to a contract and agreeing to be bound is a different thing than just a restriction on you to be bound. Because right now, even though coaches are under contract, they're not bound to their schools. They move whenever they feel like it. And if we think players are getting tampered with, what do you call what's going on with coaches? Like, so you don't think Lane Kiffin was tampered with by LSU? Or LSU tamper, and I'm using LSU, it's highest, maybe it's the most visible, but you don't think they tampered with Will Wade at NC State? I mean, who are we kidding?
Remember? Yeah.
But they allow that. Like, the NCAA doesn't have any problem with that, because all the members, if somebody takes my coach, I want the whole landscape to be able to poach somebody else's coach. But boy, when it's players, everybody loses their mind over it, because the players are the most valuable thing and they know it. I mean, Brian Hodgson was the coach at USF, and great guy, great coach. And I almost hate to use him as an example. But toward the end of the season, he waved his finger at everybody and said, stay away from my players. Like, no tampering with my players. And I don't want to say he was threatening, but it was very, shaking his finger, stay away from my players. And he was gone a week later and went to Providence. So nobody had to stay away from him. And if that's not a contradiction, and I'm not saying him, like, he's got to do what's best for him. I have no problem with that. But sort of the system that allows that, if that's not a contradiction to the point of hypocrisy, I don't know what is.
One thing, final, and then I'll get you out of here. I was looking at the conversation the other day again. Calipari was on, I think you were on the panel. He was talking about 24 and 25-year-olds being on the roster. And it's a little unfair. What are we doing? What are we talking about? He was the king of one and dones. So I don't know what he would be up in arms about having 24 or 25-year-olds on his team, because in college it would happen there for a while. You guys are seventh year eligibility playing college football. Does the NCAA allow that, or can something be done about the eligibility rules? Because right now you got Brendan Sorsby at Texas Tech, who got basically busted for gambling, went into treatment, and now he's suing the NCAA over eligibility issues.
Yeah, and look, the NCAA's never had. They're trying to do something about it right now. They're trying to pass a rule, and they may do it this summer, that basically says you've got 5 years from your high school graduation or age 19, and you can play those 5 years. But if you get hurt, too bad. You get 5 years period, and that's it. So hurt, whatever. Whatever excuse you have. They do have some exceptions already, which I brought up when this was first floated. I actually brought this up early in the year. Like, if they wanted to make college sports for undergraduates only, go ahead. That's fine. But then they'd go, well, what about a kid who it takes away the incentive to graduate early and all this stuff? So do what you want. That's fine. But the first thing I brought up is, like, if they do that, then they're going to hear from BYU saying, wait a minute, our students take missions, and you're going to punish them for a faith-based mission that they take. And then you're going to have people that say, well, look, I signed up for the Marine Corps out of high school, and I served my country for 4 years, and now I'm outside the window and I can't play sports and go to school. When athletes after World War II and the GI Bill, where they were 29 years old playing. There's never been an age restriction that the NCAA has had. In fact, we have all these feel-good stories year after year, not year after year, but on occasion about a 50-year-old that's playing Division III football or something, that decided to go back to school after raising a family and all that, and finally going to college. So there's never been an age restriction. I mean, I did push back a little bit on Cal, with the idea that, somehow it's unsafe to have an 18-year-old playing against a 26-year-old. There's nothing unsafe in that. If it were, you'd probably have big signs up at your local YMCA for age differences in pickup games. They don't do that. That one I didn't find particularly persuasive. I don't have a problem with the argument, but I don't find it very persuasive. And to me, who cares? Like, if you don't want a 26-year-old, don't recruit a 26-year-old. What you're really saying is we don't want to play against them. And as long as they still got eligibility, what difference does it make? I don't have any problem with any of that stuff. But if the NCAA wants to pass a reasonable rule that has a principle behind it, I'm fine with it. The problem is their transfer rules have they've never been based on any principle whatsoever, and certainly nothing they could defend, which is why the NCAA invented on its own the transfer portal. That wasn't thrust upon the NCAA by some court order. They came up with it themselves. So we'll see what happens with this, 5-year thing. If it takes hold and it's voted for, I don't think it's necessary, but if that's what they want, because somehow people grasp on to these. We don't have a lot of 25, 26-year-olds playing. There just aren't that many of them. Most people move on for whatever reason, but they grasp onto it, and it gives the NCAA a little bit of an opening. And they probably feel right now like they don't have a lot of authority in different areas. So when they feel like they do have authority, they pounce on it. And it's not a sinister thing, but we'll see what happens. But I'm not bothered by it one way or the other.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Jay BILAS, ESPN college basketball. Jay, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it when I get guys like you on here, college basketball analyst extraordinaire. I've got all kinds of questions that go through my brain because you're in the thick of it. We doing shows like this can only see it from afar, but you're right in the thick of it, and that's why I like to get people like you on, because what was it, Denzel Washington and Philadelphia. Explain this to me like I'm an 8-year-old. It goes better like that. But again, thanks so much for coming on. When we get closer and closer to the 2026-2027 season, I'll be picking your brain about who I should watch out for, the teams I should watch out for, because I'm all about college basketball.
Well, we'll look forward to it, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Jay BILAS, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, I'll just. Yes. But when I get people like Jay BILAS on, it's always fantastic because, again, guys like him, or if I get Larry McReynolds on for NASCAR, they're in the pit. They're in there. We can only sit back and watch as fans, unless you go to every game across the country, and that's not going to happen. But again, I was talking about the English Premier League. A lot of stuff is going to happen the rest of the week. So it'll be interesting there. NASCAR news. If you didn't watch it yesterday, Denny Hamlin won the All-Star race at Dover, which it's dumb. Go back to having the NASCAR All-Star race in Charlotte, please. It's tradition, it's honor. I don't want to see a NASCAR All-Star race at Rockingham, North Wilkesboro, Dover. It should be in Charlotte the week before the Charlotte 600, as I always used to call it. It was not a points race yesterday. Just know that Denny Hamlin won. Let's go to the WNBA. As soon as it comes up here. Of course, now my Verizon pad has frozen. It's buffering. We don't like buffering here on this show, on any show. I might have to go to my phone. Okay, I'm gonna have to go to my phone. Like I said, WNBA. You know what? I'll do the standings. We're like maybe a week and a half into it. Right now, the Las Vegas Aces, who dropped the opener, now they've rattled off 4 in a row. They're on top of the 4-1 record. The Liberty and the Sky are 3-1. They're a half game back. Washington, Golden State, and Atlanta, they're all 2-1. They're a game back. Minnesota and Phoenix, as well as Toronto and Indiana, are 2-2. They're a game and a half back. And then the rest. So there you have it. My Verizon pad is still buffering, so I have to. Let's go to college sports. Excuse me. Oh, here we go. I'll go to the men's. College baseball. There were no top 25 teams in action today. Some of the tournaments start, though. First round of the SEC tournament is tomorrow. Missouri will take on number 17, Ole Miss. South Carolina will take on number 23, Tennessee. Let's go to the rankings as they stand. Really doesn't mean that much now. USC is 25th. Coastal Carolina is 24th. Tennessee 23rd. Cincinnati 22nd. Arizona State 21st. Nebraska 20th. Oklahoma State 19th. Florida 8th. Ole Miss is 17th. Mississippi State is 16th. Alabama 15th. Oregon 14th. Kansas is 13th. Arkansas is 12th. FSU is 11th. Texas A&M is 10th. West Virginia is 9th. Southern Miss is 8th. Oregon State 7th. Auburn 6th. Texas 5th. Georgia is 4th. Georgia Tech 3rd. North Carolina 2nd. And UCLA finishes the regular season numero uno. Let's go to men's college lacrosse. Yesterday was the Final Four. Number 1 Princeton beat number 8 Penn State 14-10, and Duke beat Georgetown 16-6. This coming Saturday, the 23rd, Duke will play number 1 Princeton. Number 6 Syracuse will play number 2 Notre Dame. College women's softball. Again, Thursday, the regionals will start taking place. So on Thursday, the NCAA Championship Knoxville Super Regional Game 1. Number 10 Georgia takes on number 7 Tennessee, and in the Lincoln Super Regional Game 1, number 13 Oklahoma State will take on number 4 Nebraska. Women's lacrosse this week on Friday, your Final Four. Number 3 Maryland against number 2 North Carolina. Number 1 Northwestern against number 4 Saint. Did I read that correctly? Did I read that correctly? Yes, number 4 Johns Hopkins will take on number 1 Northwestern. If you didn't watch the UFC, the MMA, whatever the hell they call it, Ronda Rousey won in 17 seconds, which was a joke. So I don't watch anymore. Because you have the undercards, and the undercards are okay to a point. But then you get to the main event, and it's over within the first round or in the second round. And that's why I don't watch it anymore. Because quite honestly, it's a joke. Let's go to golf last. You didn't know PGA Championship there in Aaron Mink Golf Club in Newtown Square, which is literally 35 minutes that way. Aaron Rye won with a 9 under, 271. His first major championship. Congratulations to him. John Rahm finished second along with Alex Smalley. They were 3 shots back. LPGA Kroger Queen City Championship presented by PNG. It was there at the Makatiwa Country Club, Makatiwa, Cincinnati, Ohio. Lottie Wode, she finished with a 12 under 268 to win there. PGA Tour champions, they will kick back off this week. Live tournament will kick back off in another couple weeks. DP World Tour will kick off this coming weekend. Back up. And the Corn Ferry Tour, Elgin, South Carolina this weekend, the Wood Creek Club at the Colonial Life Charity Classic. Cole Sherwood shot a 264, 16 under par, wins by 1 stroke over Zach Blair to take the W. So I think I'm going to end it there. Again, thanks so much to Jay BILAS for coming on here. I'm always appreciative of guests like him coming on to my dog and pony show that I got going on here. Early Evening Sports Buffet with the Ginch. I am said Ginch Ryan F. Polk County Entertainment Network. Thanks to everybody that tunes in. Again, I'm so appreciative of those who tune in, they comment. I always say questions, comments, criticisms, welcome. Again, thanks to Jay BILAS for coming on. As I say at the end of each show, practice compassion, practice empathy, have passion for what you do. Tell somebody you love them. You might not get a second opportunity. Hug somebody every once in a while. You might make their day. And for the love of Jesus, if you see somebody struggling in whatever fashion, ask questions, inquire, How can you get them help? How can you help? Because it might not just be saving a life, you might be saving a multitude of lives. So I will see everybody tomorrow. I will do a double edition. I believe it's 7 o'clock. I'll be doing For What It's Worth, just all kinds of shit to talk about in the world of politics. President Stupid, his cabinet, the bickering back and forth, President Stupid's trip to China. It's a shit show. It is a potpourri of shit. Is really what it is. So I will see everybody tomorrow. There's only one thing left for me to do. That's for Dandy Don. Meredith to take me out. Enjoy the action tonight, everybody.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party's over. And tomorrow and next year starts the same old thing again.